Hello, so today we're going to review body structures and organ systems. Right? So when we're looking at the structure of the organ systems, we're going to start with the cell. Cells are the smallest living unit within the body. Okay, most cells and cellular structures are microscopic. That means you can't see them with the naked eye. And cells that are similar and organized the same are called tissues. All right. When two or more tissue types work together, they make up an organ. Tissues and organs are macroscopic, meaning they can be seen with the naked eye. And then when we have body systems, when we have a group of organs that work together to perform a specific task, that becomes a body system. Right, now we're going to look at anatomical positions and directional terms. So when we're referring to a patient's body or body systems, we're going to use anatomical positioning. By using this universal reference, there's no question in documentation or description of the body. Anatomical position is described as the body standing flat-footed, toes forward, the legs straight, arms at the sides, and the head and palms facing forward. Directional terms are also commonly used in the medical office. Proper use and interpretation of these terms, make sure that we have accurate communication and documentation. So a couple of things. So superior means above or closer to the head. Inferior is below or closer to the feet. Anterior is towards the front of the body. Posterior towards the back of the body. Medial, we're close to the midline of the body. Lateral, that's further away from the midline of the body. Proximal, closer to the trunk of the body. Distal is farther away from the trunk. And then there's superficial, that's closer to the surface of the body, and things can be described as deep, and that is farther from the body's surface. Right, and so we also use planes of the body. We have three main planes that are used to describe the different sections of the body, and they're also frequently used when we're doing radiographic studies. It's important to be familiar with these planes and make sure you're correctly using them when you're discussing or documenting locations. So you have sagittal. The sagittal divides the body into left and right sides. There's also mid-sagittal, which refers to an equal division of the left and right sides running along the midline of the body. Transverse plane divides the body into upper and lower sections, not necessarily equally, so you can have different transverse planes. And then frontal is also called the coronal plane, divides the body into anterior and posterior sections. And then, so we also have body cavities. So the human body can be studied according to each of the five body cavities and their internal organs. So you have your cranial cavity. That's where within the bony cranium that houses the meninges, which is the brain. You have your spinal cavity, a continuation of the cranial cavity as it travels down the midline of the back. And you have thoracic cavity, which is within the chest, that houses your heart, lungs, and major vessels. Your abdominal cavity, that's within the abdomen, that houses several major organs. And your pelvic cavity, which is inferior to the abdominal cavity, and that houses the bladder. So body quadrants and regions. So the human body can be divided into quadrants or 9 regions, either of which is helpful when we're using as a reference during physical examination of internal organs. And you should become familiar with each quadrant, assist in correctly documenting a patient's chief complaint. Body systems. So body systems are a group of organs working together to perform a highly complex task. When body systems are performing efficiently, the body achieves homeostasis. When there's a disruption in the function of a body system, the result can be minor or significant, from a headache to organ failure. So the following section, we're going to look at different components and functions of each body system. We're going to start with the integumentary system. So this is the largest organ of the body. Skin, um, it's unbroken skin also is our main defense against infection. Hair, nails, and glands are considered accessory organs of this system. So the skin has several important functions, which these accessories also aid in. So as I said, protection is the body's biggest defense against illness and injury. It also prevents exposure of the body's internal structures from dehydration, UV exposure. It does temperature regulation. The skin plays a significant role in the body's ability to maintain and regulate its temperature when a person is hot or cold. Superficial blood vessels in the skin can dilate or contract or constrict to control the flow of blood to the surface of the skin, which helps then in warming or cooling. There's also excretion, that's where perspiration aids in cooling the body, but it also results in loss of water and minerals. We have sensation. The skin is loaded with nerve receptors, and it can detect sensation like heat, cold, and pain. And then there's vitamin D production. The body needs vitamin D in order to absorb calcium, which is needed for bone strength. And vitamin D comes from exposure to the sun. Skeletal system, its purpose is to give the body structure and posture, as well as protect the soft internal organs from injury. The skeletal system plays a key role by serving as attachment points for muscles in the body. This symbiotic relationship between bones and muscles often results in the systems being referenced as one, so say the musculoskeletal system. And then we look at bones further, they can be classified by their shape. The muscular system, it's made up of the different muscles. So you have the cardiac muscle, which is found only in the heart. It's cross fiber to allow the heart to contract from the top to bottom in order to pump blood. You have skeletal muscle, which is responsible for body movement. It's also called voluntary muscle or striated muscle. And then you have smooth muscle, which is found within the walls of hollow organs, in blood vessels, and the iris of the eye. This is also called an involuntary muscle. And then lastly, you have tendons. So they're at the end of skeletal muscles that attach the muscle to a bone. Next is the immune and lymphatic system. The immune system relies greatly on the lymphatic system to prevent infections in the body. When a pathogen, which is a germ-producing microorganism, is detected, the lymphatic system begins by activating the body's defenses. So the lymphatic system includes lymph nodes, which are small little glandular structures concentrated in the neck, the axilla, and groin. And they produce and store lymphocytes, and they're home to macrophages that filter lymph. And then you have lymph nodules. So these are masses of lymphoid tissue comprised of macrophages and lymphocytes. Lymph nodules are not encapsulated like the lymph nodes. Then next you have the thymus. That's located posterior to the sternum. The thymus is large in children, and then it shrinks after adolescence. It is responsible for the production and maturation of T cells. Then we have the spleen. The spleen is the largest lymphoid organ. It's located in the upper left abdominal quadrant. It's home to macrophages that filter the blood. And then we have interstitial fluid. This is tissue found between cells. Once collected and filtered, it's called lymph. So creating immunity or the ability to resist pathogen is an important function of the immune system. So people are born with some immunity, and then they can develop more over time. Some immunity occurs from being exposed to pathogen, and other types of immunity are developed through immunizations. So we have natural acquired active immunity that occurs when a person has an infectious disease. They develop the antibodies against the pathogen that caused the disease. The antibodies have a memory that prevents further infections by the same pathogen. Then we have artificially acquired active immunity. This is the type of immunity that you get as a result of a vaccine. So the antibodies are activated by the vaccine, and they develop a memory to recognize the pathogen in the future. And we have naturally acquired passive immunity. This is a short-lasting immunity passed, say, from mother to child through the placenta and breast milk. We have artificially acquired passive immunity, which is also short-lasting immunity that's created by giving an exposed person antibodies from a person who's previously had the disease. The cardiovascular system. Structures of the cardiovascular system, they work together to pump blood throughout the body. Blood carries oxygen and nutrients to the cells, and then it helps eliminating that cell waste. So blood travels to the heart to be pumped to the lungs, and then for oxygen, and then it goes back to the heart to be pumped to the rest of the body. The average adult heart rate is around 60 to 100 beats per minute. The primary organ of the cardiovascular system is the heart. Now, the heart is a muscle made up of 3 layers. You have the epicardium, that's the outermost layer, myocardium, which is the middle layer and the thickest, because it's our muscle, and then the endocardium, which is the inner layer, and that's part of the electrical conduction system. Next, we have the urinary system, which is primarily responsible for filtering blood in order to remove waste products. The waste is then prepared for elimination by combining it with water to form urine. And urine is produced in the kidneys and then stored in the bladder to await elimination. And we have the gastrointestinal system. It's also called the GI tract. It begins in the mouth or the oral cavity. That's where we start to have digestion. Digestion plays a vital role in the body's ability to maintain homeostasis. Water and nutrients are essential for proper body function or proper function of the body systems, as well as organ, tissue, and cellular function. The primary organs of the digestive system collectively make up the alimentary canal. There are also accessory organs in the digestive system that can aid in various digestive functions. Next, we have the respiratory system. This functions by moving air in and out of the lungs, called respiration. The respiratory and cardiovascular systems typically work together to deliver oxygen to the body via blood and eliminate carbon dioxide. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide within the lungs is external respiration, and the exchange within the hemoglobin of red blood cells is internal respiration. Then we have the nervous system. The nervous system controls all other body systems and is divided into 2 main sections. You have the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So the central nervous system, also CNS, includes the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, the PNS, is made of peripheral nerves found throughout the body. The PNS is then broken down further into 2 separate branches. You have the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system controls the body's voluntary, which are the skeletal muscles. Afferent nerve cells, called neurons, carry information about the body's environment to the central nervous system. Efferent neurons carry the responses from the central nervous system to the body to initiate action. Right? The autonomic nervous system, that's the one that controls the autonomic functions like breathing and digestion. Sympathetic branch controls the fight or flight response to stress. The parasympathetic branch returns the body to resting state after a stress has been resolved and is responsible for maintaining homeostasis. A neuron is able to generate electrical impulse when stimulated. The nervous system contains multiple neurotransmitters that is involved in this exchanging of information. We have the endocrine system. This is made up of organs and glands that produce, store, and release hormones. So hormones, they're chemicals used by the body to increase or decrease activity of the hormone-specific target cells. This aids the body in maintaining homeostasis. There are two types of glands within the system. You have exocrine and endocrine. Exocrine glands release hormones into a duct for delivery to the target cells. Endocrine glands release hormones directly into the bloodstream. So exocrine goes to the duct for delivery to the target cells, endocrine into the bloodstream. Then we have the reproductive system. So the male and female reproductive systems are going to work together. It's all about fertilization and to reproduce. They each contain structures and functions to aid in this process. Females have a reproductive cycle, which refers to monthly fluctuation of hormones that aid in reproduction and prepares the uterus for a child. When the fertilization does not occur, that's when menstruation takes place, and then the whole process begins again. So when organs are working together, they are referred to as systems. Body systems are responsible for all vital functioning, including maintaining homeostasis. Homeostasis is achieved when the body systems and biological processes maintain stability. The body has a built-in regulatory process that react to external environmental changes in order to sustain balance. The nervous system and endocrine system are primarily responsible for achieving and maintaining homeostasis, but all body systems play a role. So the study of the body and its functions is a complex subject, but it can be very interesting. By understanding the organization and the system of the body, the structures and groups within the body, and how those groups rely on each other to maintain overall health, the MA will have a strong foundation of knowledge. All right, so you need to have this basic knowledge of anatomy and physiology to help enhance your career and promote confidence and competency within your scope of practice. Thank you.